when you're thinking about sowing, you also have to think about harvesting, and you have to keep your end product in mind. So if you need very high quality of fibers, and that your processing facility and the manufacturer of the processing line can tell you that, but what is the input needed in your line? If you think 4 weeks or 5 weeks before harvesting, I need especially 15 centimeter pieces.
Hey guys, it's Mandi with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials. Anyways, I'm really excited about this interview. I'm excited to have you join us today, Gerard. And I'm excited to hear what you have going on. You've got lots of experience and lots of things, lots of questions that I have that come up. So I'm just going to kind of let you dive in. If you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now in this industry.
Okay. I started at GroeNoord 3 years ago as a project manager. Before that, my background is always a combination of agricultural and engineering, and I prefer to combine that. Big passion for agriculture. So that's one of the things that I found at GroeNoord 3 years ago. I joined the team for the DoubleCut production. And as many of you maybe already know, back in 2013, HempFlax came to GroeNoord with the question to build a special hemp harvester. Can you build 2 headers on a combine? There the project started.
So I have a question really quick. What kind of agriculture are you in? What's your background, when you say agriculture? Because potatoes, and what else have you done?
Mainly flower bulbs.
Okay. And how did
tulips? So I'm from the Netherlands.
Okay, so how did the transition, go for you from, to bulbs and potatoes to hemp?
That's just a coincidence.
Okay.
Because I didn't look for getting in the hemp business. I was asked to get in a conversation with GroeNoord for another role as a salesman, but that's not my real background. But I'm always interested when someone asks me, can you get over for a talk and a cup of coffee? So I said at GroeNoord, talk to the sales director over there, Jos Popken, and he's also into the project together with Mark Reinders from HempFlax. And after the discussion that we had, he gave me a call and he said, I don't think you are a salesman for our corporation, but I have something else. Do you like to go to Groningen in the north of the Netherlands and help the engineers over there taking the project one step further? And that was 3 years ago, and I think we are a lot of steps further on this moment.
Yes. Okay. So similarities. Can you speak to some similarities or some major differences from farming or agriculture that to what now you've learned and how much has changed? Like, where is opportunity? Where do you see challenges?
I think when I look at my experience with potatoes and flower bulbs, that the areas that they are grown in the Netherlands aren't the first areas where hemp will be grown. I think hemp is especially a crop for the bigger countries with a lot of space, but there is definitely a big chance for the development of hemp at the moment.
Okay. When you say bigger space, can you talk about that a little bit? Because what we see, right, there's a lot of difference in the industry, or what comes up often is this, want to be able to provide the opportunity for fiber and grain on smaller production or smaller scale. And, more and more, there's the conversation about where it becomes cost competitive. Can you speak to, what does that look like? And then I'd like to talk about what does your equipment look like and how does it work?
What I meant is that the area that I grew up and worked, especially that is a smaller area in the Netherlands. When you look at the north, where HempFlax is located, there's an area where they're already cultivating for many years hemp, and there is a chance for grow. But I think the big markets that will grow are not in the Netherlands, but
right
in North America or Central Asia, Africa, Australia.
Sure.
It will be big grow markets.
Yeah. And as far as like size, are you thinking, when we talk volume or large amounts to be competitive, or let's maybe I'll walk backwards into this, but when we talk about equipment to harvest and to, bring the product off the field or the crop off of the field, can you speak to what your equipment, what sets it apart from some of the others, and where have you really seen some challenges that you guys have been able to overcome with your equipment?
The capacity of the machinery, when you can bring it back to about 2 hectares per hour.
Okay.
And what you can do in a season, it's just depending on how your season looks like. Because when we are looking at the Netherlands or Romania, then we are talking about a harvesting period about 4 or 5 weeks. And then the Netherlands is a little bit more difficult because, first of all, we don't harvest with the DoubleCut combine, but with a single cut harvest because we can't collect the leaves and the seed is too late in the season to get it ripe. Then the risk of getting the fiber of the field is getting too big. But for example, when I talk to guys in Australia, the country is much wider and they see chances to also extend the harvesting period. So then you get a completely other scenario for account your cost price or what size do you need to make a harvester accountable for your operation. So it's very hard to say. I think every situation is different. And when I look at our machinery, somehow we are still in a sort of niche market, but we are growing, and especially because of the belief that we have at HempFlax of the total crop valuation, most certainly that will grow in the next coming years, that way of cultivating hemp.
You said a couple of things that were really interesting that I guess I don't hear it talked about very often, is obviously, the size as we're looking, or the increased demand for herd, is definitely hitting the United States. We're looking for, larger crops and more herd production. But with that comes a bigger stock that's harder to harvest. What is that ideal size, and where should our farms be, planting? What is ideal sowing density potentially for the right density or right size crop to harvest from a harvesting perspective, I guess?
Yeah, at HempFlax, we account with 80 to 120 plants per square meter. And that's translated in 35 kilogram seed per hectare. But as I don't mention at the moment, but for 3 months ago, I started at HempFlax, and one of my own goals of starting at that company is also learning a lot about the more technical side of the hemp business. So what I know is mostly based on the information that we have at HempFlax and experience. But I'm sure that there are a lot of farming practices, and we're not the only one who has the wisdom of cultivating hemp. But for our machine, the way that HempFlax works is very good, because HempFlax designed the machine for this way of cultivating hemp.
Well, and that's something that we see a lot in the other big, commodities. Corn and soybean they're evolved enough that equipment is specialized to harvest their crops or their genetics or, and so forth. And so same thing. Yeah, we'll definitely see great production. Okay. So can you talk to me a little bit about your thesis that you had with CANN?
I'm not real proud, but for 10 years ago, I started at an education in Utrecht, and it's commercial economics. And after 3 years, I took a big pause. And in 2020, I came at the idea that there was the work that I did at GroeNoord, sometimes the reports that I wrote for them looked like like a thesis. So I went to Jos Popken and said, "Hey, I have to finish my school someday. Can we think of a good assignment?" And till that moment, I was mainly involved with the engineering side, the more technical side, and very interested because it was just a very great and mighty machine that we built in Oldhoven. But with the start of the thesis, I get more in contact with Mark, and the main question for the thesis was, what can we do to increase the sales for CANN in the next coming years? What would we do to increase that? So I had a very broad research. My scope wasn't too small. So I just started looking into what are the attractive markets for our machinery to export. And with that result, at the half of the thesis, I found out that mainly Central Asia, North America are big growing markets, interested for CANN. Also France and some parts in Europe are in for expanding. So let's have a focus at start for France and North America. And one of the things in my advice to them was that I noticed that, for example, a customer of us ordered in 2025 machines. I cannot name them, but it's not important. But they were enthusiastic, they have capital, they have a group of people, but not the best practices for cultivating hemp. So they tried it for the first year. It wasn't a big success. They didn't even need it. Our DoubleCut header mounted on the lift that can go up to 3 meters high because the crop wasn't high enough. And they had experienced several problems. So one of the advices was, what can we do with the knowledge that HempFlax has? Because we can sell machinery, and we sell 5 machines. We're very glad with that. It was a good result for us. But the first machines sold to a customer isn't that interesting. It's the second and third and fourth machine. When they come back, everything is going well. The business is going up. Cultivating, growing is going good. And that's the biggest success that we can achieve together with a customer.
Yeah, I would agree, right? There's a lot of excitement, especially with what we've seen in the ups and downs in the industry. Where do you see real opportunity for education, right? What coming from your position and your experience in the industry, where should new markets or emerging industries really be paying attention? That maybe they missed, or you saw other countries or territories, or through your experience, pitfalls that you've been able to overcome or could have avoided. What advice do you have?
I think the biggest challenge that we have as a hemp market in general is the lack of awareness at the end user of the big advantages of using hemp or bio-based materials in general. But there's not only hemp, but also other crops are offering good chances for the future.
Okay, so
for example, I talked to a lot of people the last couple of months, and it's very interesting. And back in 2016, we bought a home together with my wife, and it was a total mess, that home. So we started renovating, and we were motivated to do it right. And we started isolating the roof and the floor, and everything is isolated. And for a couple of weeks ago, I talked to a guy, and he has a very great initiative in the Netherlands. That's the Ego Building School, Joost van der Waal, very great guy. And we had a talk. Within 2 minutes, with this topic, he asked, what did you did with the building? Oh, okay, I placed some isolation materials in the roof. Oh, that must be pretty hot in the summer. I was thinking, yeah, you're completely right. And this just also still with me, I'm learning a lot now when with the time spent at HempFlax. That as an end user, with a motivated renovator of the home, I didn't have a clue.
Didn't know.
So you're basing your choices on a lot of factors. But first of all, we have to have a good result, and the good result was saving on energy. A little bit struggling with the right term for that.
It's all of the eco-friendly, drivers from, reduced energy or more sufficient, self-sufficient. Yeah.
But what I meant is that you're basing your choices on a lot of different factors, but the things that you learn or from Joost or from other people in the hemp market, the big advantages of using hemp isolation for your climate and that sort of things, I was completely unaware, and I think a lot of people are unaware of that. And
agreed.
I was
actually going to ask you. I was going to ask you if it was, what about our builders? Educating even our builders, or are they still? Yeah, because I always toss this back and forth. Is it consumer demand, or is it that B2B education for business? Those who's building, who's actually manufacturing the homes, who's doing a lot of the prefab builds. Are they using the product, or like you just said, the consumer really is where the focus needs to be for education?
I think the education is needed on the complete market.
All the way.
So it's end user, but also the constructors, but also politicians, for example. I started laughing. It isn't even funny because Mark joined a meeting a couple of weeks ago with some Dutch politicians, and it was related on bio-based and especially hemp.
Yeah.
And one of the politicians get enthusiastic and grabbed a little piece of fiber. We have to do something with this. And they looked at it, and Mark said, we're doing that for almost 30 years at the moment.
Yeah.
Completely lack of knowledge. And we have to look at the complete circle of producing the materials to the end, to the waste.
Yes, I agree. I've said for a while, and it's something that we've been really passionate about, is trying to build that consumer demand, and the need just is more and more apparent. And yeah, it's fascinating to me. I just saw a comment come in. Rusty said, hello, everybody. We are at a Bitonomy, are very interested in integrating hempcrete and 3D printing using hempcrete and self-reliant structures. We also run an education program to empower communities. Our models use no AC or heating for any climate. We have a product in the Netherlands and develop over 120-acre wellness center. Awesome. Nice to meet you. It's very cool. Do you have any comments, I guess, about his statement, about what he might be doing?
I think it's a very great initiative, and I like to meet him. So when he wants to reach out, I'm always available for talk.
How do people get in touch with you? If people want to reach out, and either with you or your companies, how do people reach out to you?
A lot of it is by LinkedIn.
Okay.
And the website of HempFlax. We get a lot of requests by mail. So I think that are the main two things. It's one of the things that I noticed, and it makes me proud that Mark invited me over at HempFlax. But one of the things that I noticed with my transition also to HempFlax is that HempFlax is just a very familiar company in the market. There's a big difference between saying I'm working for GroeNoord, John Deere dealership in the Netherlands, or I'm working for HempFlax. HempFlax, I know, Mark. So very big difference, and it's an inspiring environment over there.
It's inspiring to watch, and like very humbling probably to be able to work with a company also of reputable size. You see so many organizations that are, and so many people we've talked to that are just getting their feet wet, in the industry. And so really being able to say, where you're heading. Can you speak to us a little bit about what you see in the future, for the company, for the industry? You've got all kinds of knowledge inside of you, and I just want to suck it all out. So feel free.
Depends on what company you're asking, because when you look at CANN, we produce great machinery, but some sort of a salesman, I think. But we produce great machinery based on the experience and the knowledge and the collaboration with HempFlax. And we're working hard on expanding our markets. One of my goals for this year is setting up a dealer network in North America. And it isn't too hard because we already know who our dealer must be, because we are a John Deere dealership ourselves. And we think that working via John Deere dealerships is key, because shipping a machine isn't too hard. It is maintaining it, offering the service to the customer, making sure that you have just a very short period to harvest your crops, so the machine has to be in good condition. So the John Deere dealer network is working fine for that purpose. So at this moment, I'm working on the dealers in Canada and later on in America itself. And from a HempFlax point of view, they are growing for the last couple of years. I think they are growing very hard at the moment, very fast. For a couple of years, 2015, I think they opened another location in Romania, processing facility, and their own farming operation, and they're doing over there about 1,000 hectares of hemp and some other crops like flax. But for 2 years ago, they took over an insulation company in Germany. So there's a lot of things happening over there, but I think they're growing fast. Mark, when I'm at HempFlax, Mark is talking to me, and he has all great ideas, and we have to do this and we have to do that. Can you look into that? And the working week is just too short to do everything at once.
Yes. Well, and especially when you're leading the charge, there is not a written pathway about the way something should be done in this industry. And so you guys are definitely doing a great job.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah. There were a couple of questions about your dealership program. Where's your location going to be in the US?
At this moment, we are not thinking about setting up one single distribution point. but we're open for companies who think that they are able to do that for us, to be a good part of us. What we're looking at the moment is just creating awareness among the dealerships and in general reaching out to the cultivators, the growers, processors of hemp in America.
Well, I would love to chat with you more also and help. This is something that comes up all the time, obviously, through our organization, and especially on the consumer demand side. You know, the more that we talk and the more that I just think about what we have going on, there's lots of opportunities to link arms and collaborate. And so however we can, I'm happy to.
That would be great. Because one of the things I'm learning every day with this journey, because when I finished my thesis, I had a strong belief that we just have to call all the dealerships in Canada and then we start selling machinery. But a dealership that doesn't have any clue about how great this hemp product can be and what the possible growth can be of this market, there's a lot of other activities on machinery and helping customers and so on. So not everybody's interested right away. Once in a while, the most enthusiastic reaction that I get was I talked to a guy, I sent him a video and our brochure, and he responded to me, "I can sell that."
No kidding.
Didn't happen, but
okay, so from a dealership perspective, right? What are some of the reservations you're seeing? What are the obstacles they need to overcome to start getting involved in the hemp industry?
I think from a dealership point of view, there aren't big obstacles. The only thing what you need is a broad development. And at first, what I meant to say, at first I was thinking, okay, we just have to push at the dealerships, and then the dealerships start pulling in then area for and start looking for growers of hemp. But there are several roads to making this to a success, and we have to pay attention to every road. So, for example, when we can sell one machine in an area, then it started growing. And we have seen that in Poland, for example. We have a dealership over there where we have a good contact with. The first machine was sold, and the second and the third came fairly easy after that. I think that's just the thing that we need. But I think that it doesn't matter which topic you start about this market. Everything has to develop, and it is not one. It's not one topic that has to develop. Everything has to develop. So the offtake at the end, but also growers have to get faith. And then we need processes in between. Everything has to grow, and I don't think it will grow very fast, but we get there slowly, and every year we get a little step further.
Does growing fast intimidate you a little? Growing too fast? I said, does growing too fast intimidate you a little? Is it
we
a
have
little
to do it good also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't want to see the failure, right? We don't want to see this, what happened with the CBD market where we had an influx and crash. Yeah. So okay, so on processing equipment, can you walk through kind of like what you said earlier, but in a little bit more detail about what sets the equipment apart from other hemp processing, or some of the benefits to your type of processing, your type of harvesting equipment?
Yeah. I think the main, the two big advantages of our equipment is the quality of the stem that we can produce. We basically with the DoubleCut combine, we make a combination of a combine and a forage harvester. And that forage harvester we built on a combine, and we have a custom cutter head for that. And with this customer cutter head, you can cut the stem at pieces of 50 to 60 centimeters.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter how the stem goes in, because the feeder rolls take the stem, and every cut is in this range between 50 and 60 centimeters. And
consistent end
that
market.
is very consistent, and that is a very big advantage for your processing, for your further processing. You only can harvest it once, and you have to do it very good at that moment. And the other advantage is in the top of the machine. To describe it, we fixate the feeder house of the combine, and we mount a lift on top of it with the original header, and then we cut the top part of the plant with the upper header. That is threshed by the combine, and especially because we only feed about 50 or 60 centimeters through the combine, the processing goes very well, and you get a nice, clean, pure seed in your grain tank. And we are also offering a leaf collecting trailer, and then if you are interested in the leaves, you got a food grade leaf biomass collected. And a big advantage is that because we separate the top from the stem, is that also the windrow for the retting process is very clean. We don't have contamination of leaves in it. And for example, we are working in the Netherlands with a single cut harvester, and then you mix it up. The first few days, the leaves have to dry, and then with tearing the windrow, then it falls down on the ground. And that's just a big advantage of using a double cut header.
It just lays it down right away, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm very visual. I wish I had pictures so that I could follow along while you were talking.
Maybe we can share a video as a reply on this.
Yeah, absolutely. We could add it in there for sure.
That was also the reaction that the agronomist from Australia this morning. He used one of our videos at the start of his workshop in Australia, and you called me right away after the workshop, and he was guys were very enthusiastic. They didn't see it before, and when you see the machine, it just blows your mind.
Interesting. Okay, so well, and this is something that comes up a lot, right? And there's a couple of companies that are, putting together different processing and different methods to process. And something that always comes up is, what is that end market that it's going into, that product is going into, right? So what are you seeing the biggest pull and benefit, I guess, right, with your type of processing or harvesting equipment? What are the end markets that are being really driving the product from the other end? Is it building materials, biocomposites, textiles?
I think that will be a mix of them. Mm-hmm. I don't think there will be, first of all, I don't have a lot of knowledge on that part, but what I think about that is that it will be a mix of all those markets, mm-hmm. because that is something that we see at HempFlax. You are working with a natural product, so not every batch is the same quality. Mm-hmm. So that's also what's happening at HempFlax. A part of the very good quality is suitable for textiles. Mm-hmm. And the lower qualities go or in paper or in building materials.
Right. Even non-wovens, right? Like mats, non-woven mats or insulation batting, but definitely, especially on the textile side. Cool. Okay, so can you walk me through what harvest looks like, as far as we kind of talked about planting density? As a farmer, what is something that they need to really be thinking about before they're putting their seed in the ground when it comes to the harvesting piece of this?
That is very simple. I think when you need a very good quality for your processing facility, you mentioned it before, there isn't standard equipment on the market available. And there are a lot of farmers trying to harvest it with just standard mowers for grass or something, or using other equipment. But when you're thinking about sowing, you also have to think about harvesting, and you have to keep your end product in mind. So if you need very high quality of fibers, and that your processing facility and the manufacturer of the processing line can tell you that, but what is the input needed in your line? If you think 4 weeks or 5 weeks before harvesting, I need especially 15 centimeter pieces of stock in my processing line, then you get a big challenge to get a machine over to America or whatsoever, because there aren't a lot of companies capable of doing that, and the companies that are all busy.
Speaking of,
you have to plan in time your harvesting operation.
Speaking of, if somebody is ordering equipment, what is time? When can they expect to get it? Say we put it in order for a DoubleCut combine. What's my time frame to be able to receive that?
At this moment, the biggest challenge is a combine. If you have a suitable combine available, we have some stock left, but the order book is filling up. So if you order at this moment, you are well supplied in July, there's no problem.
Okay.
If you wait a little bit longer, everything gets more difficult. But we have some experience with last moment orders that went well. But I would.
But don't bank on it.
I'm not allowed to recommend that somebody to call in July or the beginning of August. What can we do for in 2 weeks? But for a couple of years ago, we built machines within 2 or 3 weeks. But everything was on a good roll at that moment. But
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, for everybody listening, if you guys have questions, please feel free to chime in. Let us know where you're joining us from. Say hello. I'm excited about this conversation. Of course, could keep talking. I wish that I had other people on so they could ask some questions for things that I just don't know. Because obviously I don't know what I don't know. And yes, I'm very aware of this in a conversation around the harvesting. And so I had a question, and then of course I just slipped right out of my head. I'm going back to my notes and where we were. What else? Look at me. I'm frozen right now. Speaking of freezing, obviously there's a lot on my mind, but we're going to be in NOCO. So I hope anybody that is there, please drop in and say hello at our booth. I'd love to have you there sometime, or I'd love to connect and shake your hand. How many acres are you guys? Here's back to my question. See, I knew if I just started talking, it'd come to me. How many acres do you guys harvest? How many acres is HempFlax harvesting? Let me ask that. Do you know?
At the moment in the Netherlands, we are growing, and there's about 1,500 hectares.
Okay.
So that's times 2.5, I think, 2 acres. And in Romania, it's about 1,000 hectares.
Awesome. Okay. Great question. Adam has a question for you. Do you provide financing for your equipment? And then they've got some projects in Texas and Mexico that they'd love to speak to you about.
That's no problem.
I'm going to share your LinkedIn again here.
One of the things that what's interesting to tell, that's why we also are aiming on expanding our dealer network via the original John Deere dealer network, because the strategy of John Deere dictates that new machinery has to be supplied by a local dealership. Okay. So the combine is supplied by a local dealership, and John Deere has a good financing program on that machinery. There's no problem. And on the part of our equipment, we are in contact with some financing programs. So, but we have to look into the situation for that. But please reach out and we talk about it.
I think I shared your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best place to reach out and connect with you. You said. Is there a place on the website if there's somebody looking for specific questions or contact information from the website as well? Did you say?
Most easiest to explain is that the site of HempFlax is good reachable. So when you look at www.hempflax.com, then you'll find a lot of information related to hemp. And on the site of GroeNoord it's a little bit harder to find, but there are some advertisements of used equipment. And at the moment we are working on finalizing our website. So in a while we have cannbv.com, but we share that on LinkedIn when that's going live.
Okay, cool.
The first bits and pieces and looking very good.
Very, very cool. Well, I'm excited to watch it grow. And Adam, I'd love to hear what you have going on in Texas and in Mexico. I definitely think Latin America is starting to pick up. We're starting to see more interest. So it'll be interesting what acreage looks like. And like you said, compared to the Midwest or in some of these other territories where we're going to have big acres grown. Are you very familiar with rotation crops? Obviously, hemp being used in different rotations and its success, in a rotation crop on, say, a potato compared to a soybean or a corn?
I think that is also a chance for the market that I know in the Netherlands, that hemp doesn't have high demand for fertilizer. At HempFlax, we don't use fertilizer in the Netherlands. And regulations on that part are getting harder every year. So the use of fertilizer has to go down. So that's one of the advantages for farmers to start in hemp as a rotation crop in comparison to wheat. You just don't need fertilizer. There's a big advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you familiar with them as far as the rotation piece of it? Being able to increase yields or effects. Somebody brought up that was in onions, a concern for root rot and, its potential in hemp. Are you very familiar with that, especially with a bulb type plant? Yeah.
Personally, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm interested in that sort of things. And I will ask our cultivation manager tomorrow, because that are great things to know about hemp. If you can, it's not only the potential in finance, but also if you have good side effects, that can be a good advantage.
Okay, so out of all the things now you've learned in this industry, right, and all these challenges you've seen that farmers in different countries are facing as they're bringing hemp on board, what really fuels your fire to stay in this and to say, no, this is what I'm doing and this is my why?
For me personally, it's a combination of some things, and it started with just the engineering part. It's a great machine to see, and when you see the technique, when you're in the Netherlands, please feel welcome to join to Oldenhoven to look at the machinery, and we open it up and we show everything.
Okay.
But especially with the research on my thesis, the sustainable part started growing inside of me. And that is, I think, the greatest motivation. And at HempFlax, we are, in my belief, we are at some sort of endless grow in size, but also in applications of this crop. Every week you hear new stories of people who found out some way to apply it in a new way.
Yeah.
So I think it will be never a dull moment in hemp.
Yes, I think that's part of what is so exciting, right? Is the innovation that continues to come, and we're just scratching the surface of, and like you said, innovation not just on end products, but also in the harvesting and in the way that we're cultivating, and where it's being cultivated. Yeah, it's very, very fascinating. Okay, so where do you see the biggest potential for end product? For a high value end product, is it building materials? Biocomposites? What's your opinion?
I think it's almost the same question as a while ago. I don't have an exact answer on that. I don't see one market growing on its own. I have a strong belief in it that we need several markets
to go at the same time.
Still to get a real adaptation of bio-based products in the industry.
Okay, so what do you suppose that when we talk about consumer demand and being able to really pick that up so that we can pull this market and create a demand for the growth and for the farmers, right? Give them a reason to get into this and compete, especially against commodities that are at an all-time high, right? What is that message that needs to be shared? What is hemp that's going to make people, that's going to create a Got Milk campaign that was so popular, or a Hemp for Victory campaign? What is that message, you think, when we talk about education? And what does an association or a group like Global Hemp Association, in your opinion, really do to bridge that gap?
I think the main message that we have, that we have a responsibility for the future, and we can just look into save energy by using the cheapest building material at this moment, but we have to start thinking earlier in the process for what a good solution is. And there bio-based products come in. Because when you start at the beginning of the designing process and you think about what are the product qualities, okay, everything is working fine for the application that I have, so that must be, but also what can we do with this product in the end? And when you think, it doesn't matter which market you're looking at that moment, but we are facing a lot of problems on plastics or building materials that when you are at the end of the life cycle, that you get a complete other problem. And I think there are endless possibilities of endless examples all over the world to see what's happening. So what we must do, I think a lot of people in the hemp industry are doing this for the right reasons, and just spread the word, and also the AYA and a lot of other associations, even you with your Global Hemp Association, everybody is contributing to the awareness and the spreading of knowledge and information. So, and there is a lot of information available, but how do we make that accessible for somebody who isn't necessarily into this market?
It's that we don't know what we don't know, right? If they don't know to look for it, or if they all they know is hemp or cannabis to be what gets somebody high or is used for medicine, and they don't understand that it's connected to carbon sequestration or sustainable building materials, right? Then, they don't know to search for it. And so, that's something that we definitely talk about a lot, and something I'm passionate about is obviously getting the word out and transitioning from I shouldn't say just B2B, but so much of the B2B focus to a consumer demand and consumer campaign to, share the education. So I'm curious and interested, and I'm always interested too in what's worked, right? Especially in, your neck of the woods or over across the pond, where it's been viewed a lot more differently, right? Even compared to here, and you're still butting into those same problems. And so what has worked, and what does that, what does it look like on a global scale? Right.
One of the most positive messages I received in in a few weeks ago was from a Dutch guy, and he reached out to HempFlax with the question, what do you know about cultivating hemp in Uganda? And I'm learning a lot, but what I heard from a couple of years ago, it's a bit challenging to cultivate hemp around that area. But there's a lot of development going on seeds and varieties. But the positive message that he had was the problem isn't very big to solve, because when you look in Africa, for example, he said they are using a lot of cheap materials to build houses, and when you look back at the history of building in a lot of countries, they had they used already the right techniques to apply a material like hemp into the building. So it worked in the past, and it can work in the future. We only have to get it back on track.
Yes. Well, and there's lots of chat coming in. I see in the comments about different people interested in the hempcrete and talking about hempcrete. So hi, Daryl, and hi, Adam. And then hello, Gary. He said, great to see you, of course. And then wanted to say thank you, Gerard, for all of your good equipment. Hemp harvesting for our industry is going to be a big deal as acreage ramps up. And I think that, yes, that's exactly right. And there's a lot of questions coming in right now about the harvesting piece, especially as the season is ramping up and people are starting to really now get serious about putting seeds in the ground. It's a make or break time. They're either going to do it or not. So, yes. So one last time, they can find you on LinkedIn and on the website. I did share LinkedIn. I'll share it one more time so people can reach out, but find them on LinkedIn for sure. And then anything else that you want to share before we wrap up? We have just a couple minutes left. Any big things exciting? Are you going to be traveling to any upcoming expos or events?
I think traveling is coming back at the moment bit by bit. And we get a lot of invitations, and we will see where we end up. I know that Mark is joining online at the NOCO.
Yes.
Somewhere in the coming days. So that's a great thing.
Well, his interview.
One of the things I'm very enthusiastic about it, and that's mainly from the John Deere point of view that we have, is that for a couple of years ago, John Deere invited us to their partnering group program, and that meant a lot for GroeNoord and for HempFlax. So to get their support. So
excellent. That's great. Well, congratulations on all your work. So how can we support you?
Giving me the chance to say something, but we appreciate their help a lot, and it is going backwards and forwards at the moment. They reach out to us with new questions. Last year we fought together about a sorghum project in Kenya, and we had a lot of challenges for that customer, but that sort of things we are looking into. And also for this year, sorghum is on the list, and at the end of the year we will do some trials with a partner in the Netherlands. So we keep looking for new possibilities to put the machine to work.
Okay, so we'll be sending people your way. We'll definitely be in touch and continue to build this and work together on this. I was just going to say, how can we really support you? But outside of this, if there's anything else that you need, don't hesitate to reach out. We've got a great network. We will chop this interview up and share little pieces of it, especially my little blurb where I went brain dead for a minute. And so if anybody else needs anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I do see there's a couple of you. Ray is just saying he's going to be at NOCO talking about hempcrete and construction. So happy to connect if anybody has any ideas or anything that they want to chat about. He's a great conversation. Ray, I'm not sure what time you're speaking or when you're speaking, but if you want to share it, it'll be great. I am also on Thursday and Friday going to go live for an hour, similar to this time, and then just interview different people, show off some booths and some cool things that are happening at NOCO. So for those of you that are not there, you'll be able to chime in and just kind of watch and see what's going on there. But is there anything else? Anything else you want to close off with? We're right at our hour.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the invitation, and it was a short topic that we had up front of this interview. One of the things that I experience every day, there is a lot of information available in the hemp market, and the development of growers and processors and end users, but we are also looking into the development of the information sector, and I think you're doing a great job with that part.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Can't get my phone to be quiet now. Oh my gosh, guys, what the heck? I'm falling apart today. I'm not in my normal territory, and you can tell. Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're always looking for ways to improve our content and make it more fun and exciting. For any of you that I have not interviewed, or if you guys have somebody that is great that we can add to our interview, and of course, I'd love to follow up with your team as you guys continue to grow and develop as well. But please send people my way. Let them know. We'd love to have them on. And besides that, you guys, we'll see you tomorrow. I've got another great interview tomorrow talking about hemp blocks with Dion. And then, like I said, on Thursday and Friday, we'll be shooting live from our NOCO event, walking around on the floor and meeting different people face to face. So anyways, thank you very, very much for joining us. And we'll see you guys next time.
Great. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much.